our address can be seen there on the bottom of the screen here. You can contact us at 727-498-8828, and our email address. And you can also check us out online at hfg411.com. And by the way, when it comes to emails, just got to tell you that in this new world and new age, I am getting about 3 times the amount of emails that I have in the past. In fact, by this morning, I had over 300 new emails before noon. So if you are trying to reach us, go ahead and put something in the subject line in capital letters so we can make sure that we can address your needs, and so I can sort it through and certainly give you the attention that you'd like and deserve to have. Okay, let's go back to a picture of me. And I'm actually wearing my Tampa Bay Rays shirt today. Had they been playing, we would have been taking on the New York Yankees today at Tropicana Field. So I'm kind of missing baseball, and I'm sure everyone is having to adjust with this new world of coronavirus. And here in Florida, we've got the safer at home mandate. And so we're trying to make sure that we can try to not spread this disease, and hopefully we'll see a light at the end of the tunnel here. And I believe that we will. And so for those of you who are who've had meetings with me in the past, you know that I like to see things where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. Well, where we've been, we know what's happened here in the first quarter. It was actually the worst financial quarter for the first quarter that we've ever seen. So there's that on the table. But of course, perhaps more importantly, we are dealing with all these other things and adjusting to our life right now. You know, in talking with the markets, you know, at some point, I personally do expect a recovery. When that will happen is, you know, anyone's guess, but I'm going to try to talk you through it right now. You know, certainly we haven't seen that peak yet as to when the coronavirus is going to start showing signs of recovery along those fronts. But the business world is going to lag for a little bit. I mean, certainly the first quarter was bad, but it all happened in March. I mean, we're just talking the last 3 or 4 weeks in which this has been a complete disaster in the financial markets. And so pretty soon we're going to start seeing the earnings report come out, and I just don't see it being great news at all. And so when we start seeing here at the end of April some news, I'm anticipating that to be pretty lousy. And I think there's a couple of things that need to happen before we start seeing things turn around. I mean, first of all, we're going to have to see that the number of cases and the number of deaths start subsiding. We need to have that kind of good news, and we also need to see kind of a recovery in the business world, people getting back to their normal lives. And once we do, that might be the start of a recovery. I think the markets can kind of look at it and feel as though that we can put some of that bad news behind us and anticipate what's going to be happening here in the future. Most of the calls in which I've been receiving so far have been people trying to take an opportunistic view of this and saying, hey, you know what, we've really gotten beaten up. Where can I put my money so I can be there for the recovery? So let's talk about that for just a second here. By the way, I'm going to turn on our little chat device. So if you do have any questions, you know, go ahead and shoot those off while I talk about this. You know, last Friday we talked about dollar cost averaging, and I think that's a good way of us trying to get back into the market. You know, certainly we need to have another evaluation as to where we stand, where we feel comfortable in the markets right now. And personally, because I don't see any good news in the next 3-4 months, I feel as though we have to have the majority of our assets kind of on the sidelines. You know, let's be in cash, ready for that rise back up. I don't want us to miss the rise, and so I feel as though we need to be invested to a certain extent. But I also feel as though that we need to have some of that dry powder ready to go and fire away when things return to normal. So I think one method that we can employ is dollar cost averaging, where we just take a little bit on a disciplined approach and start getting back into the markets so we can, you know, if the markets continue to slide, we're going to buy things on sale. If they continue to rise, then we're going to be a part of that ride. And we did talk about that last Friday. I also have talked to lots of people and saying, hey, that's great, but let's say I'm invested in my 401k plan, my IRA, uh, there I feel as though we need to reevaluate what percentage that we have allocated towards equities and stocks. And maybe that needs to be more adjusted. And then as time goes on, maybe on the first of every month, start dripping back into a higher percentage into the stocks. Again, at some point, we're going to see that come back. And I personally feel it's going to be strong and it's going to be rapid. We saw how quickly things went down. It can get back up just as quickly. But I also have this little error of caution here. You know, by the time we get to the summertime and let's say it's June, we start hearing some of that good news. Now we're going to start hearing more about politics. And I've never longed so much for some news other than the coronavirus, but now I'm starting to hear about that Trump Biden type stock uncertainty. And so we've seen that here in March. But as we go forward, there's going to be more uncertainty as to who the next leader of the United States is going to be. Is it going to be continue to be Trump? Is it going to be Joe Biden? I don't know. Maybe even Bernie Sanders can squeak in there somehow, but right now it looks like it's Biden's to lose on the Democratic side. But again, 401k plans, I think that I would take a larger percentage, you know, keep what you feel comfortable in the stock market. And then there's got to be a fixed income or like a bonds or even a cash allocation that's part of that. Let's take a part of that, a portion of that, and then drip back into the market once every month. And when you have questions about that, certainly give me a call. I'm able to take a look at it, and every person's unique. And know that I'm not trying to come up with any crazy stock recommendations here. I'm just trying to come up with a strategy and a plan that might be able to work for you. So that's kind of my opinion about how to dollar cost average and rebalance your retirement plans and get back into the market. Certainly, I don't see any good news for the next few months. But if you ask me, I kind of feel as though that a year from now, we're going to be better off than where we are right now. Hope so. I don't have that as a guarantee, but that's what I kind of foresee in that mythical crystal ball out there. But we have to be prepared for that and be ready for that rise back up when it's about ready to happen. So, you know, give us a call if you have any questions, whether or not that we're looking after your portfolio or not. There's ways in which we can go and readdress that. Like I said, every person is different. Their approach towards investing is different. So let's take a closer look at it, a more detailed look at your specific situation. Okay, I'm going to look at some of the questions and answers that I've got going on over here. In this one, it says, please don't reveal my name, but I am a former Tom McCormick client. I have an annuity, and how can I dollar cost average with that? Okay, first of all, I won't mention your name. And for those of you who are listening, Tom McCormick is a former colleague of mine who, you know, certainly I respect and feel as though that he's placed his clients into some pretty good investments. In fact, in the annuity in which you're speaking about, you have an income rider, meaning that was the most important thing to you when you set that up. And so there are some guarantees built into that annuity that will allow you to turn on that faucet and receive that money when you're ready to do that. Meanwhile, there is an underlying investment that goes from point to point. And right now, this point isn't looking awesome, but they do have that built-in guarantee on your annuity that you will not be losing money. In fact, what you need to do is be looking towards that time in which you've said, this is when I need to start turning on the money, and your income will be there for you. And so again, sometimes annuities get a bad name, but they are at the core insurance products, and you are insuring the fact in this case that you want to have a certain amount of income coming to you at that specific date that you've identified there in the future. Okay, again, this one's from Greg. Greg is asking, at what point do you think that the market will turn around? Okay, well, again, we've talked about that just a little bit. I do think that we certainly need to see some good news out here. Last week, we had the best week we've ever had in the stock market. It came back roaring. With that said, despite that great week that we had, Tuesday through Thursday was awesome. We still have had the worst quarter, first quarter ever. So I think that we have to kind of readjust what our time frame is. And I hope that we've impressed upon people that we can have a long-term type of view. Certainly short-term, we need to adjust and ways to get back into the market to take advantage of when that's going to turn around. If I had to guess as to when things were going to turn around, don't hold me to this, but I'm going to say it's going to take a few months until we truly see some good news happen in the market. And when that happens, then we're going to be able to see some rise. I'm just worried about in the near future, the bad news that's going to come out, because when anybody goes down the street, if you are leaving your house, there's not a lot of people in the restaurants these days. Sure, a lot of them have some takeout that are curbside available, but they're not seating people inside. The stores, they're pretty much empty. If they're not mandated to be closed, there's fewer people that are out and buying things. You can have things delivered, I hear you, but at the same time, these stores and these businesses are going to need to see some improvement. When that's going to happen, we might not see some positive news until the third or fourth quarter of this year, until things really settle down. I also just want to see life get back to normal. I want to go back to a baseball game. I want to be able to take my wife out to dinner. I want to be able to enjoy life outside of the house, but as I'm sure you do too. So, okay, well, that's the questions that I've seen so far. And certainly if you have any other questions that you'd like to ask, give us a call. Again, that number is 727-498-8828. You can talk to myself or Robbie over here, and we'd be happy to either set up an appointment or discuss things if you've got the time right then. Also, you can email me at ted@hfg411.com. Again, do your best to try to, in that subject line, put capital letters. I'm getting so many emails these days. I mean, just kind of behind the scenes, what happens is that there's a lot of what they call wholesalers. These are representatives from different companies like annuities and mutual funds and other types of products. They come into our office and want to kind of pitch their product. And I don't want to do that on this type of a webinar, but what happens now is that they're not coming to our office, and so they're sending us emails, and I'm trying to weed through all this stuff that's coming through, and I want to give you the attention. So put something in capital letters so I can see and give it the attention that's needed and required. But we'll continue to have these if you enjoy them, and we're going to try to put this on at least our Facebook page, if not our website, which is hfg411.com. It has to be compliance approved before it gets posted there, but we want to make sure that we're reaching out to everybody during these uncertain times. And again, if you have any questions, give us a call and we'll make sure you're comfortable with what you own. Okay. Again, be safe, take care, adios, and have a good night. Take care. Bye-bye.